here with Danny
Guzman.
Guzman.
Yep.
Danny Guzman.
Hello.
He is an owner of a kombucha business,
It is called Bayou City Bucha.
and I guess have you always lived in Houston all your life?
Yes, I have. I was born and raised here. I grew up on the east side, like very, very east, like Channelview, North Shore
okay.
area if you're familiar. And then I went to high school up north in Porter, which is close to Kingwood.
And would you say that Mexican American cultures have influenced your life in Houston or the culture in Houston?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I mean, the high school I went to was mostly Hispanic. My parents are obviously from Mexico, and Spanish was my first language. And even now, in the stuff that I do with the company, it has a lot of Latin American influence, if you will. Even one of my brews is actually a beverage called tepache, which is a traditional ferment from Mexico. So,
really?
So I definitely bring a lot of the culture into the company.
Do you think there was any like specific restaurants or any types of foods that influenced what you create?
Yes, definitely. So I guess it depends on the flavors, you know. But really, I don't know. I like to tailor a lot of the flavors to either things that I consume on a regular basis that would be like smoothie based,
Sure.
or I also try to tailor to the bar scene as well, and I also incorporate some of the flavors to where they would go good with specific cocktails.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So it's a combination of both.
What made you want to get into kombucha?
Man, I got into kombucha about 3 years ago, and it was just purely experimental. Like I just wanted to kind of nerd out with it. I'm huge into microbiology, and so I just found it really fascinating. And I also didn't want to be paying $5 for it at the grocery stores, so I just started brewing it, and it came out completely terrible at first.
Really?
It came out super, super nasty, very vinegary, and very just not good. So I kind of got a little discouraged for a while, actually. So I did that for about 6 months, and then I stopped. And then I missed brewing it. I just missed having it. And I was like, no, I could probably correct this. Like, there's some things that I can change up. And so I perfected the recipe a little bit, and then I created 2 flavors, along with my business partner, which his name is Blake Flowers, for you guys to know. What's up, Blake? And yeah, so we started refining those flavors, the tea blends, the amount of fruit and herbs that go into the recipes, and after we finally got it down, that's when we kind of started publicizing the kombucha, if you will. But that was kind of a long journey, so that took about a year. But the company itself started last year in April, so actually on April 20th we'll be at 1 year.
Was it really hard to come up with the company and sell it to other places for distribution?
Yes and no. We've had the combination of some places were kind of a struggle. We got a lot of no's in some places.
Of course.
But the cool thing about us is we always ask for feedback. So it's like, okay, you're telling me no, and that's cool. I can respect that, but like, why? What would you change about this bottle? Like, what don't you like about it? And what would you want to see from a company like us? And so whenever we would ask those questions, we'd come back to it. And then sometimes those places that told us no at first, I mean, now we're working with them.
Oh, that's
So
pretty good.
yeah, we're really, really feedback based. Because I mean, we're a new company, you know what I mean. There's a lot of things that you can learn from people,
Yes.
and a lot of the retailers that I work with are people that have been in the food and beverage industry for years, you know. So we have to listen. You know, you learn a lot from everybody else.
Yeah. What would you say are the stereotypes of Mexican Americans in the food business?
The stereotypes. Well, one big common stereotype that honestly sometimes seems to be true is that there is a lot of Hispanic people working in the kitchens of the food industry, which, to be real, I mean, at least in my experience, I've worked in the food industry, minus my company, for about 6 years. That seems to be the case, you know. Why necessarily, I don't really know.
Do you think it's like cheap labor or?
Yeah, it's possibly the combination of cheap labor and it's just an easily accessible job, and I don't know, maybe perhaps a lot of the Hispanic community feels comfortable in that kind of environment, you know? But like I said, I don't really know. I don't like to go with that kind of stereotype.
Of course.
And I just don't like stereotypes, period, even though they are very real.
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Like they are very present in any industry, especially the food industry. So
Correct.
It's easy to take advantage of those who don't exactly have all the rights and privileges as others.
Correct. Or that they're not aware of like what proper pay is, unfortunately. So yeah, I can definitely agree with that for sure. It's not something I want to do with my company, so
That's good.
yeah, definitely not.
What do you think are ways that you can combat those stereotypes in the food industry?
Um, at first, if you would have asked me this question a few years ago, I probably would have said I would just ignore it or shun away from it. But now I kind of embrace that. So like, I bring a lot of the Hispanic and just Latin American culture into this company already. Like I told you earlier about one of our beverages, which is called tepache. Like that is a recipe from Mexico. I brew it just like they brew it, like they've brewed it for hundreds of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. Like I have not changed anything, just to like use slight variations, but the recipe is solid and it stays the same. We have another flavor called Pura Vida that's inspired from Costa Rica. So like I said, there's like a lot of Latin influence, but we want to bring just international influence in general. So we want to start making other beverages that are traditional ferments from their respective countries. So I guess to answer your question a little more directly, like as opposed to shunning away from the stereotype, I kind of want to embrace it, you know? Like there's nothing wrong with bringing that culture into your company, into the food and beverage industry, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people love it. I mean,
Oh, that's really good. I know that some people, they get afraid of like Latin flavors and foods. They think it's too spicy, or they think it's gonna like be too much of a flavor impact. Do you think there's an easier way to like encourage people to try them?
do I think that there's an easier way to encourage people to try that?
Yeah, like does your kombucha like, encourage people to try new things, try new flavors, new experiences?
Yes, it's a combination of just really talking to the person and describing what drinking that beverage is about, or just kind of hitting a target of what they like. Like some people really like, say, for example, pineapple and papaya and tropical fruits. Like, well, this is infused with that, and it's really just tea and fruit. So give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can always toss it out or whatever. I always kind of just challenge people, like, just try it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And most people are actually really open to that idea. So
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
I should buy myself a bottle and I can.
I'll give you one. You don't have to buy it.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you today. It was
Anytime,
really nice.
absolutely.
Thank
And
you so
cheers,
much.
UH. Salud.